Hello, this is Red Ochre. Welcome to Redstone 101, Lesson 2. I'm not going to make any apologies for this video because it's going to take you from this is a redstone torch, this is what it does, and uh, help you understand it to the point where you can do some really advanced things with it. Uh, if you don't understand redstone torches thoroughly, absolutely thoroughly, you will find some useful things here, particularly in efficient tricks with wiring to troubleshoot your problems and make things as cheaply as possible. So, in the real world, we think, here's a redstone torch, it's a power source. Well, we run a wire to and something and it lights up. It works something. We plug in the vacuum cleaner, the toaster, whatever. Well, that's not how it works in Minecraft. Um, if you're thinking in these terms, then uh, it'll work a little bit until you try to do anything complicated, and then the complexity of how this actually works is going to drive you batty. In our previous lesson, we already covered these two things that anything adjacent to the block below where a redstone wire is powered will be on, and anything adjacent to a block that a powered redstone is pointing at will be on as well. It doesn't have to be to the side, it can be to this side. And all we have to do is remove this redstone torch and it's all it all it's all off. This is because in real life we hide our wires in walls, and we can't do that in Minecraft. So they added this level of complexity to allow for many things that uh, you can't do in this simplistic block world. But so that's a variation on that theme is what we're going to be covering. But to make this simplistic, I'm going to try to go through all the different functions of redstone torches and use I'm going to continually use how wacky power transmission is in each of my examples. Hopefully it isn't too confusing to you, but it's to drive this point home, because if you're frustrated with redstone wiring, this is most likely the reason. And if you want to be able to do some of the cooler, complicated things, this is also the reason. So the first function of a redstone torch is power inversion. If redstone torch will power wire, but if the block the redstone torch is powered, then it turns the redstone torch off. Now this is important in inverting power. The most simple and useful application of this almost single-handedly is in controlling water, because for any time you're dealing with water, on is off and off is on, unless you're using a dispenser. But if you're using a piston, then that's how it works. The piston needs to be extended for the water to be off. So the piston being on makes the water off. So if you want a switch that um, turns water on and off, you need to be able to hold it on in the on position, or a button that pulses it on, for instance. Same thing. So you put a redstone torch powering this piston. Notice I could have put it on the same level as that, but it was just as easy to put one down and power the block next to it. And this is important to note, because if you're covering this up and you put a block on top of that redstone torch and wonder why other things are getting powered that are too near, this is precisely why. That's a very important concept to a very powerful use of that. And this then leads to the very next application of redstone torch, which is transmitting power up. I don't know about you, but when I first started doing redstone, doing power up, I would just step it up steps like this. Unfortunately, this is a lot less redstone efficient. Notice I'm only using one redstone dust for every 2 blocks, which to me is well worth it for wiring. And if I want to go up and over, I can. I'll show you how to do that in a second. So this switch turns water on. It also turns that light on. Turns it off. It's also very useful in taking redstone down. Notice that because this redstone wire is powering the block that this redstone torch is on, it turns the redstone torch off. This is the biggest myth about redstone wiring. It's not the wire it's not the block that is below the redstone torch that turns it off or on. It's the block that the redstone torch is attached to. This leads to the second myth, which is redstone only powers blocks above it. Well, that's not so. A redstone torch placed on the side here will power the one below it, the one to each side, and the one on top. Let's see. And the one on top. But we'll get to a little complication in that in just a second, because if you don't understand how it can power some other blocks, then you don't understand something very important. So, because this wire is now off, this redstone torch is on, which lights up that redstone dust, which turns this off, which means that's off, which allows this one to be on, and the light turns off. Flip the switch, and all of those reverse, allowing this to be on. See, and this is an example of how you can go up and over at the same time. You could just continue this and do the same thing as those stairs. And we'll talk about relays here. One of the problems with that is if you go too far upstairs, you say you have to go up 30 blocks, well, if you do this, you'll never have to use relays. But if you stair it up, then you'll have to have a 3 flat area just to put the relays in, and you can get complicated and space consuming spirals upwards. That's just a nightmare. I'm so glad when I discovered up and down power transmission with redstone torches. Extremely powerful thing. Let's talk about how the differences between when redstone torch is powering a block and when a wire is powering a block. This block will power most devices that is adjacent to it, to the block thing. But what it won't do is power redstone dust. See, redstone dust isn't powered, but I put a piston here and it's powered. That's not how it works for a redstone torch. Not only is a piston powered, but if I put a redstone torch dust here, it's powered as well any adjacent to the block, anything adjacent to the block that the redstone torch is powering will be powered. This is important because if the redstone torch is on the side here, then if I place a block directly above it, it will power that block, which will then power the redstone dust, which will then turn the torch off, which will then unpower the redstone torch, which will unpower the redstone dust, which will power the redstone torch, causing a rapid blinking. Now, this was such a problem that they programmed in a failsafe because it blinks so rapidly it can cause horrible lag. And so there's a feature, if it feeds back on itself too quickly, they've programmed it to blink out, like so. See, it blinked out. It stopped working. And it does that to keep the program from, just grinding to a screeching halt, which can happen if you have a bunch of this going on. So that can be a big problem here with thing. Just remove it, update it, and or you can replace the torch and it'll work. It's not ruined. It's just shut down. And as soon as you change something about it, it'll try again. So this then demonstrates how this works. This redstone torch is powering this redstone dust here because this block is here. Remove the block and it's unpowered. Put it back and it's powered again. This is powering, the wire here is powering this right here, but not this. This block is powered, therefore the piston's working, but the redstone dust is not powered. Key and important difference. That covers the major functions of redstone torch. There's just one last function to work with. Okay, so this is extending from too far. See, there's no power to this square. If I put a piston here, it's never going to work that. It's not going to work. Interestingly enough, if I remove the wire here, this wire is powered. If you can see, it's glowing just a little bit. Put a block there. Voila. So if you're just one shy and you're frustrated, that can do it. However, once again, it'll power a device but not redstone wire. So you can't just put a block there and continue going. Well, that's one thing you can use a redstone torch for, is to continue the power. How that works is, see how this power is turning this redstone torch off. Then continue a wire from here, and you can continue the full power length of the wire, but for brevity's sake, we'll just put another redstone torch there. Continue on. Okay, so there it is, and it's maintaining this, because you use two, it's maintaining the same polarity. If I take this redstone torch away, then this part is lit and the two sides are unlit. See that? So that's the final main function of a redstone torch, is to act as a way to extend a power source. Okay, let's talk about relays now. Now, relays are almost completely redundant with redstone torches in the game. They're, they were added basically to condense the functions of a redstone torch into a single square. So they're made from two redstone torches, so they relay the power through them, but it maintains the polarity. So they relay power, they serve the same function as the repeater over here, but when you put them in, see, power comes in is on and leaves is on. You don't have to do, and it really condenses the function, but at quite the expense. We'll talk more about transmission of power here in just a second. The next function that they serve, I didn't cover because it's easier to cover, but when I talked about redstone torches, I didn't cover this function, but they can do the same thing. I'll show you how that works. It's just easier to see with relays, and that's the function as a diode. A diode is anything that will transmit power one way, but not the other way. So flip this switch on, power can then powers both lights. Same with this one. So power can go either direction down the wire, and there's many times when that's not going to work for you. So you put a redstone relay in and flip the switch, it goes through. Because this arrow is pointing this way, power can only go this direction. So when I flip this switch, power goes to and stops right there. So only one is on and the other's off. That is extremely useful. And I'll show you more how this diode thing can be quite useful. As I said, redstone repeaters can function just like a diode. See, both are on, both are off. Only one's on, because when this goes to here, it's not powering the base of this redstone torch, so it's not changing the polarity. It'll only change the polarity that direction. If I had these redstone torches on the other sides of these blocks, it would change the diode function to this direction. Alright, so how is this useful? Well, let's say you want to power all these things in a row. Well, you can go mad laying redstone trying to get them all pointed the right direction, and it just won't happen because they're too close together. But let's say you don't want to separate them. Well, it's pretty easy. All you have to do is put in one relay. See, notice the power is coming from here, alright. Now, what this relay does is it will not connect to the wires on either side. It only connects to the wire directly behind it. So, and I'll go cover that more directly, and it will only transmit it forward. So this forces these other wires to point at the other two things. So using a diode function, you can solve this problem pretty easily. To do the same thing with redstone torches, you'd have to take up all this room and use several levels here. Now, I screwed up here and I learned something that I thought I'd show you. I wanted to use glass as this block here so that you could see it, but I found out that not only can redstone not be placed on glass, but it won't break a redstone wire like uh, solid blocks will. So that's pretty cool. That's really useful because let me fix it here. So I'm going to put a block here. So it breaks the wire going here, but it still transmits power there. Then when you turn it on, it all functions. It all comes on. Now, you know, it doesn't matter whether these are all lights or all pistons. Um, whatever you want to do. So that the glass thing though is extremely useful in case you want to cover up all your wiring here. Now, because glass is see-through, it won't cover it up for aesthetic reasons, but it will keep your wiring from being washed away without breaking your wiring. So if you use a regular block here, it would see it breaks this wire where glass does not. Something cool I learned doing this. I'm really excited to know that. That's fascinating. Redstone wiring is just an extremely fascinating subject, at least to me. The control that a relay will give you. So here we have a redstone torch. It's powering this block. Redstone, a repeater will not receive power from anywhere but the block directly behind it. Can't be one down. See, if this were wire here, see how that connects? That this would go up to it, and the fact that this is powering doesn't power that. It has to be the one directly behind it, and it only gives power in front of it and one up. So here's the power. It won't power these redstone dusts behind it on each side. It'll only power the redstone dust in front of it. However, just like a redstone wire pointing at a block, it will transmit power to anything adjacent to the block it's pointed at. This is very useful in drawbridges and things like that, where you've got a lot of pistons right next to each other. You can just point. So here's an example of how it receives power from behind, will not give power to either side, and only in front of it, and then gives power to this block just like a redstone wire does. Almost exactly. There's one difference, but we'll cover that really quickly. It doesn't have to have a wire. It can be directly next. The power source here can do it, right? So this works. Doesn't have to have a wire. It will not power the anything one down. It will also, unlike wire, not power the block it's sitting on. See, this piston's not powered. Okay, so let's look at the differences, though, between how relay works pointed at a block and wire. Here we have wire pointed at this block. This light's on. Get out of here, sheep. But the wire behind the block is not on. Relays, that's the exception. That's the only difference, really, between wire pointing at a block and a relay pointing at a block. It will power not only any device adjacent to that block, but any um, redstone wire adjacent to that block. It also works to power that on top of there, and then you can put something like that. But without this, there's it isn't powered. All right, so the next function is also one that torches serve, but they do it so small. Once again, it was too hard to show in the redstone torch, so I'm going to show the redstone torch by comparison. What this is a blinker, just like what I demonstrated before, but because redstone repeaters slow down signals, it's not so too fast, so it doesn't burn out. So if I put a redstone torch here, it will power this wire, which will go all the way around there and come back and turn itself off. And here we have a very simple clock. So if you want pistons to fire and retract, lights to blink, whatever, here's a simple way of doing it. Now, this light here is blinking. Let's replace this real quick with a button. Now I want you to watch the length of time the light blinks the first time compared to the next times. So, blinked. Now, if you can see, it may not have been easy to see, but it not only slowed down the redstone pulse, but it made it longer. So the first time it blinked, it was very quick, and after that, it was much longer. It's taking a long time to go around this circuit. So let's put it back how we had it before with the blinker here. Alright. So say you're not happy with this time. This is still pretty quick. So what you can do is each one of these notches lengthens the time. It has 4 notches, or 1, 2, 3, 4. You can go back and lengthen this time out. And now you can see it's going really slow, but also it's lengthening the power out a lot longer. So now I've showed you how to make a simple clock. I figured I'd show you how to turn on off this clock. You can use a piston to interrupt the wire. Now, you can't use a regular piston because it doesn't break the wire. See that? Not broken. However, a sticky piston will extend a solid block and break that wire. So when the pulse gets to here, it stops and it's off. Then all you have to do, notice that because this redstone torch is staying powered, this whole thing stays powered. So all you have to do to turn it back on again is to hit that thing, and the thing cycles back around. So you have a simple clock with an on-off switch. Okay, for your assignment is to build this. This is the best auto harvesting wheat farm out there. I challenge you to show me a better one, but this is it. And it uses the whole redstone torch idea. So quite a few different concepts in of the redstone torch. Button sends a pulse down here. Now, instead of using a relay, that's one of the stipulations. Don't use any relays in this construction. It's too far to get all the way up to the piston. So right here, this convenient step here, I just put a redstone torch relay. So this is how you do it. Point it at the base, put a redstone torch on top, redstone wire next to it, pointed at a block with a redstone torch on the side. It could be on top and go up higher here, but then that interferes with the water blocking here. You run the wire back down here and then up to this redstone torch, which is powering this piston. So you're using it these redstone torches as a power relay, and you're also using the power inversion property to make this work. Now, quickly cover, you'll want this to be 8 wide because these water troughs down each side, you don't have to make these out of glass, I just wanted you to see it, are hydrating the squares. So if it's 8 wide, then all of the squares will be hydrated. The first one is also 8 deep, so 8 by 8. After that, it needs to be 7 by 8, so 7 this direction, and hopefully you'll see why when you see it functioning. But you can do this terrace this way, or you can stack them directly on top of that. If you want to know how to make this and stack them directly on top of each other in a single column or many columns, my advanced water tutorial will cover that. I'm also planning an auto farming series or video. I'm not sure how many videos it will take. That will cover that as well. So do steps up, do a block behind each step. Make sure that your step, this isn't the last step there. That's not going to work. You have to have that there. Otherwise, the water won't flow all the way to the end. So you have to start one up, then step up, and because it's 8 and 8 is an even rather than odd number, you have it's not symmetrical on each side. See that? It goes up 2 on one side and just up 1 over 1 on all the other sides. Okay, so this is how to build it. I think I've demonstrated it well enough for you to build it. Let me know if you have any trouble, want any more help completing this assignment, just building the structures. But I wanted the assignment to be something useful for this. So I will mature all this wheat and show you how it works. The wheat's mature now, and we can show you how this works. Now you'll notice that it just harvested. It didn't wash it all to me. I never worry about washing it all to me because I'm going to have to replant it, and I never make wheat farms so huge I can't replant it in 5 minutes. And Althorn does, though. And on the projects I've helped him do that, I just put the water spreader higher in the air above the thing, and that lengthens the time the water's out. But if you want it to all come to the end here, simply replace this button with a lever and just wait till it all comes to you. I don't like to because while it's flooding, I can't plant. Okay, as I think of projects that are simple and useful in using relays, this comes to mind. This is a really useful gate. You've got a rail line going in and out of your base, and you don't want monsters to come in to your base. So you build this gate here. Pretty simple construction, just a sticky piston. You need to power it on. It also demonstrates the inverse properties of a redstone torch. So you build this, and we have this kind villager. Going to demonstrate what can go wrong with it, though. You may not have enough time to get through. So how do you get more time? Well, one thing you can do is just replace this with a redstone relay, just like that. Max out the time, so the little notch is the widest there, and it'll give her plenty of time to get through that. So I hope you'll find that helpful, and it only covers really the one aspect of relays. This project covered more of redstone torches, but all the other complicated things that we're going to be building from here on out in this course is going to rely very heavily on everything we've learned so far. So you'll get a lot more opportunities to use all these different properties. Let's just cement this one time function for now, and see you next time. Be sure to like and subscribe if you would like as well.